Okay, we're good. We're going to get started here. If I can have everybody's attention, please, we'll get started and move the meeting along. I would just like to remind everybody that's here, if there's anything you'd like to talk to the school board about or any interactions minus a phone call or email, the majority of the board is arriving here between 5 and 5:15, so thank you. People are certainly welcome to come and talk to us individually or however you'd like, if that works for people. So, welcome everybody to our August 22nd regular business meeting. If you have the agenda in front of you, you will see that item number 1 deals with our strategies. Item number 2 is our face covering policy, or recommendation, I should say. Item number 3 is where the meeting can be viewed live on our YouTube website. And item number 4 is our call to order. So with that, Ms. Steves, will you please determine if we have a quorum present?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do.
Okay, thank you. We do have 5 here, and we have 2 that will not be able to join us tonight. And with that, I'd ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bellingham, thank you for leading us in the pledge. You're welcome. All right, this brings us to item number 5, the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Olson and a second by Ms. Steves. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. This brings us to item number 6, school board public comment guidelines. I will read these guidelines briefly. This is an opportunity for residents, business and property owners, parents, students, and employees of the Faribault Public School District to address the school board. You must sign up in person at the board meeting and address the board from the podium. Members of the public will address the remarks with civility and respect. After being recognized by the chair, each individual will identify themselves and the group they represent, if any. Please state a reason for you addressing the board. This is not a time to debate an issue, but for the board to hear your comments. Public comment is not available at any work sessions, closed sessions, or special board meetings of the school board. The Minnesota Government Data Practices Act prohibits comment about specific student or staff matters, even without naming them in an open session. This includes the public comment portion of our meeting. The board respects and values input, but when it relates to a specific student, staff, or to a specific matter, such input must be heard by the appropriate personnel, such as the building principal or superintendent, and not during an open meeting of the school board. Anyone interested in making a public comment will be asked to complete an information card before the meeting starts, providing their name, address, and topic for comment. All comments must conform to the School Board Policy 206, which is available for review on the district website at www.faribault.k12.mn.us. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make comments on one specific topic. Each topic will have a total of 15 minutes allowed for comments. And with that, I would like to open the public comment session, and Ali, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think we have an interpreter that's going to help us here tonight. Welcome.
Hello.
Come on up and have a seat here if you would, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay.
Mr. Muhammad, will you please introduce yourself too after she introduces herself? Thank you.
We introduce both of us or only me?
No, if she'd introduce herself first and then you introduce yourself as well.
إليهم معنا متقن بدها مقعد مش كده أنا سكيب برتب برنا بيقولين.
My name is Lol Ali. I live this town almost 15 years.
Also, my name is Mohammed. I work with the district and I am based at the middle school. Thank you.
My My job is the self-employed.
Mr. Mohammed, can you pull the microphone a little closer? I want to make sure we can hear on YouTube as well as in here. Thank you.
My job is the self-employed. Really, I'm not a speaker. I don't like to speak a lot, but I have to today. If I try, he's helping me. First, thank you very much for welcoming, and I appreciate that. The reason I'm here is very bothering me for our kids. Either way, a lot of way. We come here, big gap. I'm sorry, I'm emotional if I remember what is going on. The parents here, they don't know nothing, our people. We lose kids a lot. We need help, a lot help. Either way. The reason we lose the kids, they eat drugs. They're very frustrated life here. They are very low-income families. They don't have what they wanted. They don't get what they want as the kids. The parent almost daycare their house. Each family is 10 kids. They can't afford it. The kids they want it, and what we have is not the same. The parent already special mothers. The reason I'm here, I'm speak mothers. The mother, she doesn't know English. She doesn't know the system. She doesn't know anything whatsoever. She doesn't know how her sign her name, how she help her kids. She have 10 kids, 8 kids. Just they come home, eat, sleep, they go out. Nobody help the kids for the education. The kids, they're very frustrated. Drop off the school, drugs, a lot of things is going on in this town. The time I move in and now is a big difference. Our kids, they're gone. Nothing changed, worse only. You see, nobody with me. All I told them every day, come here. Tell them people what we need. They don't know what I'm talking about. They don't have time. Our kids, almost the autism. They don't accept the parent is the autism. They don't accept. They're thinking you take the kids. They're not thinking you help them.
Ms. Ali, I apologize for interrupting Mr. Mohammed. We have a 3-minute time limit. Are you close to wrapping up? If not, we can certainly continue the
No
conversation.
problem. I will continue. No problem. What I have is not 3 minutes. It's more than that. If you say next time, I come back. No problem. But I need to know, guys, we need help. It's not just a school. We need help. Big help. Either way. If you feel what I feel, you stand up. I'm out. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a reminder, we have a 3-minute time limit. If anybody wants to communicate with Superintendent Benty, they're certainly welcome to, or if they want to communicate with the board members, they're welcome to come before the meeting and speak individually, or also email or call us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker is Mr. Roger. Oh, I'm sorry. If you would, yeah, name and contact, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Roger Steinkamp, you'll be next.
Okay, I taught for about 20 years and have lived in Faribault for the last 2 decades, and I tried to stay in touch with students and parents and teachers by substitute teaching in 4 districts here. But we're entering a season now to elect new school board members. But first, I'd like to thank the school board members and teachers and administrators who have worked so diligently over the last year to find solutions to huge problems that we have in our education system. And public education is the foundation of democracy, and it's in danger of being undermined by a concerted effort to seed anger, suspicion, racism, white supremacy, and just pure hatred among people. And so trying to sort this out in 3 minutes is kind of like trying to write a dissertation on Twitter. And so, but a few thoughts on the upcoming election when we elect members of our community to serve on the school board that will ultimately determine how our children are educated. There are no real qualifications to be a school board member, hopefully, except hopefully having a genuine interest in education in our young people. And our system is unique in this aspect. I've had the opportunity to work in several industrial and developing countries. None of them would consider allowing a band of citizens without formal education and administrative qualifications to run a school. But we do, and it works. So, and my father was not able to graduate from high school. However, he had an insatiable appetite to question, read, and discern what's true and what's not, and that's what counts. So in the upcoming election, my prayer is that we discern who is acting in the interest of education. Critical thinking demands a good chest of information and the ability to question and discern, and teachers are trained to help students gather and understand information. We've built this over centuries of research and practice. And who's acting in their own interest or the interest of their political party? Does a person running have essential traits? And to me, that's integrity, honesty, and passion for education. And they got to be in that order, because all the passion in the world doesn't help you if you have no integrity. And truth and reconciliation can build a stronger community. It's proven itself in other countries where injustice and division reign. Banning books, anti-masking, anti-vaxxing, anti-CRT, anti-this and anti-that, are all symptoms of an ideological or political, not educational, agenda. And finally, recent immigrants come with the same desire and hope of those who came generations ago to this area to build a better life and community than what they left behind. Teaching a revisionist history extolling the virtues of a white population of settlers while ignoring the history of indigenous people, recent immigrants, and slavery encourages the same attitudes that the KKK fostered in the 1920s, right here.
Mr. Steinkamp,
So
are you nearly done?
I am.
Okay.
One sentence.
Thank you.
You know, the old psalmist said, wisdom or knowledge is a principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but with all you're getting, get understanding. And I would just hope we all vote with understanding.
Thank you. Ms. Everall, I don't believe we had anybody else sign up. Okay, thank you. Appreciate the comments tonight from both speakers. This now brings us to item 7, recognitions, awards, and presentations. Item 7A, Faribault Transportation Driver Gary Tiedekin. And Mr. Garrett Regan, will you two gentlemen come on up, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, we just wanted to thank you very much for giving us this time to recognize Gary Tiedekin. He was the 2022 Minnesota State School Bus Transportation Award winner. So this is an award given out to 6 school bus drivers all across the state, and Gary was very deserving and won the award this past year and was given out the award in June. So Gary has driven for us at Faribault Transportation for 22 years. He drives route, he drives athletic events, field trips, motor coach. He kind of does it all. He had a couple of kids in the district as well, a valedictorian, who now works at NASA. Obviously a good father as well, and a good leader in the community, gives back, and very calming influence on the students. Great for dispatchers, helping take trips, and just kind of is a giver. And he's been a great bus driver, and many reasons why we're very excited to be able to recognize Gary tonight and this past year with the award. So thank you for giving us the time, and congratulations to Gary.
And this is the 28th award that Faribault has won in a row too, so they know how to present the acknowledgments of what you need to do, so I just did what I was taught and did.
He's obviously a humble hero too, so.
Well, board members, anything you'd like to share or ask?
We'd like to thank you for your service and congratulations on your award. That's quite an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gary, thank you for taking care of our little kiddos 22 years. And Garrett, just hats off to you and your organization for 28 years. I'm certain I say this every single year. I don't know of another bus company in the state that's had 28 of these awards. So, and I think my 8 years on the board, it's been at least 8 straight. I don't know if it's been 28 straight or not, but I think it's important that the public know, and our staff and our community and our parents know that we have a heck of a great relationship with our local bus company, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you. Thank you to both of you. Gary, we thought we'd be nice. Sometimes we put that at the very end of the meeting, but tonight we didn't. All right, item 7B, bilingual seal certificate presentation. Ms. Katie Schultz.
Also co-piloting, Katie Rotvold, Curriculum and Instruction Coordinator.
I did not have it on here, so I
that's
apologize.
Okay.
Okay.
Impromptu
Thank you.
addition. So we are very excited to be recognizing some student achievement tonight through the bilingual and multilingual SEALS program. So just to give a little background, students in grades 10 through 12 have the opportunity to demonstrate multilingual proficiency and be able to receive a certificate of achievement that can translate directly into high school and college credits. And this is done simply by taking a test, so students who come in with that multilingualism can really have a great opportunity to be recognized for that and to carry that into their post-secondary careers. So students will take a test in listening, reading, speaking, and writing in a non-English language, and then they can also demonstrate their English proficiency by completing their graduation requirements or by taking an English test. And if they reach a certain level of proficiency, they can get different levels of certificates. So the World Language Proficiency Certificate is equivalent to 2 semester credits for some Minnesota colleges. The Gold Seal is equal to 3 semester credits, and then the Platinum Seal is 4 semester credits. So this year we had 30 students take tests in Spanish, German, Somali, Oromo, and Vietnamese. And we are very excited to be recognizing those students today. We would like to hopefully be recognizing them during the school year next year. We took a while to get our results back this year. So a little bit delayed, but no less a huge achievement for these students.
And I get to do the fun part, and I get to introduce these students. We do have one of the students that came tonight, and so I'm proud to recognize her. Sayan Calderon, if you want to come up here and receive your certificate. She earned a World Language Proficiency Certificate in Spanish, and so that earns her 2 college credits, 2 World Language credits. So congratulations. Thank you for doing that. We had a bunch of other students that also took the test and they earned certificates or seals. Many of them are on their way to college this weekend or this week, and so they were not able to be with us. But I want to acknowledge them. Diego Aguirre Martinez received a World Language Proficiency Certificate in Spanish. Cindy Hernandez de la Cruz, also in Spanish. Darnett Beroa Perez in Spanish. Jeshua Angeles in Spanish. Michelle Figueroa in Spanish. Jose Rios in Spanish. Jacqueline Lopez in Spanish. Sandra Duban Tovar in Spanish. Ana Acuna in Spanish. Kevin Gomez Tino in Spanish. Anahi Garcia Ceronio in Spanish. Luke Wojnarowski, that's actually the hardest word I have to pronounce tonight. He also received a World Proficiency Certificate in Spanish. Jackson Wormington, also in Spanish. Caleb Dewberry received his certificate in German. Tony Luo in German. And Henry Schoenbaum in German. And next, we had 4 students who actually earned a bilingual gold seal, which qualifies them for 3 college credits, world language credits. So Jose Perez Morales earned his seal in Spanish. Mara Marquez Gutierrez, also in Spanish. Samantha Espinosa Chele in Spanish. And Luis Angeles in Spanish. So we are very proud of these kiddos for showing their bilingualism to us.
Thank you. Thanks for presenting. Congratulations to the young lady in back, and Ms. Schultz, thank you for reading those names.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Okay, this brings us to item 8A, consider approval of employment agreement with Miss Amy Bauma. Did I pronounce that correctly? Boma. I apologize, Amy Boma. All right, come on up. I will entertain, we'll have you introduce yourself in a second, but first I will entertain a motion to approve the contract.
So
Mr.
moved.
Chair, also move.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bellingham with the motion and Ms. Lechtenberg with a second. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now, if you will, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So this is my 14th year in education. So my first 3 years I was in St. Paul at a charter school. And then I moved a little bit south. I started in Lakeville and I moved a little south and then I went to New Prague. So I was there for 7 years. And then recently, before this, I was just in Rosemount, Apple Valley, Egan. But I live about 7 miles away off County Road 9 in Faribault. So I'm just excited to be here and excited to be part of a district that really values everything that I believe in as a leader as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Board members, any comments or questions?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully you have a wonderful year.
Yes.
All right, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is item 8B, consider approval of employment agreement with Miss Emily Tobin, and I don't believe she's able to join us tonight. Is that correct? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Steves, a second by Ms. Lechtenberg. Any further, or any discussion?
I would just like to clarify that this is money coming directly from a grant for this position. Is that correct?
Yeah, our family literacy specialists are paid for out of grant funding.
Okay. So it's not out of our general fund and we're not like replacing any teachers with this?
Correct.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. This brings us to item 9, the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, also move.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Bellingham and a second by Ms. Steves. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Just to remind people, as I see some new faces out here in the audience, and there might be some new people watching online, The consent agenda does not have a discussion attached to it, so I intentionally skipped it instead of forgetting it. So anyway, just letting people know. The next item is number 10, retirement. 10A, consider approval of retirement of Mr. Donald Ides with 16 years of service. I will entertain a motion to approve the retirement.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Ms. Lechtenberg, a second by Ms. Steves. Any further discussion or comments?
Mr. Chair, if I may, here's 16 years of service with the district. I know Don personally, and just a quality individual who really made a connection with kids, and that was very important, and he's going to be sorely missed. So thank you for your service, and thank you for all you did for our students here at Faribault Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Bellingham. Just seconding your comments, would just like to wish him nothing but the best in his future endeavors and whatever the next chapter is in front of him. So, with that said, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to item 11, finance. 11A is the minutes from our last finance meeting. Mr. Gerdes, you want to come on up, please? And you can walk us through item 11B, the budget, the enrollment report, the financials, and whatnot, if you would, please.
So I believe the first one on the list is the enrollment report. So there's been just a small update to this at the Finance Committee meeting. I mentioned that I'm waiting any day for the next iteration of the enrollment numbers from the state of Minnesota. We did get those middle of last week, and wanted to let you guys know that we gained a .42 ADM from the last time I reported out. So that being said, this report is very close, and it will be the one that we use to base our final financial statements off of for the audit. So that being said, we are up about 38 and a half kids over what we budgeted way back last year, and we are over about 6.2 kids higher than the final adopted budget by the board back in June. Any questions on that? So some good news there. Moving on to the comparative financial reports. So again, this one looks at kind of our utilities and our self-insurance numbers. Our utilities are obviously early in the year. A lot of the utilities that we get billed for in July actually get pushed back into June because of the lag in the billing, and we try and capture all utilities in the correct fiscal year. So we don't have a lot of utility numbers to report yet for fiscal year 23. Looking down below at the self-insurance accounts, you can see that we're upside down by about $70,000. Just keep in mind that we don't record revenue equally throughout the year based on our contracts. And so that number really is just, again, a point in time here at the end of July. Nothing to be overly concerned about. The next report is our investment report. Last month I mentioned to you that we received all of the first half of the property tax payments in the month of June. So that pushed our number way up. And for those of you that remember, we don't get any state aid payments in the month of July. So we are down about $6,000 month over month, but that's the real reason why in our cash flow. Any questions on either of those two reports?
Board members, any questions, concerns?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have to go far. I think you'll be back up here momentarily. So thank you. Appreciate the updates. The next item is 11B3, gifts and donations, which is resolution 23-14. It looks like we had one donation this past month, and it's from Our Savior's Lutheran Church for $250 towards the nest. So thank you very much to Our Savior's Lutheran Church for that. I will entertain a motion to approve the gifts and donations.
So moved.
He was first, were you second? Was somebody
Yeah.
second?
First.
I think Mr. Olson was.
You were first, you were second? Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Olson and a second by Ms. Lechtenberg. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Steves, will you please do a roll call?
John Bellingham,
Aye.
Leon Lechtenberg,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
passes 5-0.
Thank you, appreciate it. Once again, thank you to the community and Our Savior's Church for their support. This brings us to item 11C1. Consider approval of post-secondary enrollment options PSEO contract with South Central College. I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, also move.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Bellingham and a second by Ms. Lechtenberg. Further discussion, Mr. Curtis, will you want to go a little deeper here and detail what this is?
Yeah, I certainly will. Thank you, Chad. So currently today, as many of you know, we have a large portion of kids that do PSEO. Currently, all but about 4 or 5 of those kids do their PSEO studies over at South Central College here next door. So the way the process works today is that South Central College has been claiming their time at South Central College. And then if a student is split enrolled, we get a percentage of the time that they're spent actually at the high school, plus a small administrative fee, which is 12%, that the district gets. Under this new model, for those kids that have a positive variance, and I want to explain to you what a positive variance is. So if you would mind looking at the spreadsheet that you have on the item, what this spreadsheet shows is the number of credits that are being taken at South Central College. It also shows the number of high school classes being taken at Faribault High School. So the combination of the two things put together has a cost to it, right? So what you see here is a representation for the fall of fiscal year 22. So it would have been last fall, a year ago. And the kids on this list that are not bolded have a positive variance, meaning that if the school district were to claim their ADM and we subtract out the costs, i.e. our costs and the school's cost, there's money left over. And so what this contract does is it takes that bucket of money and actually allows us to allocate that between the high school and South Central College. And so it's a positive variance for us. Okay? So I'm going to stop there. I've said a lot. I'm going to ask if there's any questions so far. Okay? So the kids in the bolded colors is what I've been kind of calling the overachievers, right? Some of them take 5 classes at the high school and then another 7 to 13 credits over at the college, right? A lot of work, right? There's not a positive variance for that, right? That total cost goes below or above, I guess, the ADM that is we get as a district, right? So those kids would be dealt with on one way. But this contract allows us to take that money, and if you look at the bottom there, it's about $34,000 for the fall semester, and split this up between South Central College and us to enhance programming, is really what it does, and develop that partnership. So on this report, there are 61 kids. I was in a meeting just last week where our PSEO enrollment at South Central for the fall of 23 is at 87 currently. So it's a lot bigger. Okay? So these numbers just continue to go up and up and up. And what this contract does is it allows us to bring in some added revenue and develop that partnership with the college. Okay? Any questions on that? I can go into all the detail on the numbers if you so choose.
Mr. Gertis, I have a couple questions. Same one that I asked at the Finance Committee meeting. Why haven't we been doing this before if it's a win-win?
I'll give you the same answer I gave you at Finance Committee too, Chad.
Then we're consistent.
Right, exactly, is that I don't really know the answer behind that. All of the big nine have a contract similar to this with their respective colleges. It allows, not only for the added revenue, which obviously is important in this day and age, but it really allows for that cohesiveness between the, the programming at the college and the programming at the high school. So it does save us a little bit, and it does help. But why it hasn't been done, I would just guess, and I probably would be wrong anyway.
Well, thank you thank you for looking into it, and anytime we can have a win-win, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
That's exactly what this is.
Second of all, do you see, or you or Mr. Benty anticipate more PSEO because of a 7-period day? Does that give, because kids can take more credits earlier on, does that help them do more PSEO as they become juniors and seniors, or is there any correlation there?
I don't think there's any correlation there. I think it's just as it becomes more popular, more students are signing up for it. So we're seeing more room, more availability for students to be able to take what they want at the high school and then also take at South Central. But I just think that these programs are climbing in every district.
Sure.
And along with that, to what Mr. Benty said, I think with the cost of tuition going up and up and up, this allows some kids to get off the ground and get a head start on their college career before they even graduate from high school.
Well, and I'd just like to congratulate the high school leadership and the administration here within the district, and also South Central. That's not to minimize any other schools, but I think you said the vast majority from our schools attend South Central in some form or fashion through this PSEO, and I just think it's pretty unique that we have two schools, honestly, about 50 steps apart, and anytime both of those can benefit, I think it's a win for our students, and it's a win for our community as a whole, so I think that's wonderful, so thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jim.
Okay, so we do have a motion, and we do have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Gerdes. The next item is item 11C2, consider approval of the ice arena contract. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Lechtenberg and a second by Mr. Olson. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item is item number 12, Policy Committee, and we do not have a report this month. So that brings us to item 13, Other Matters. And 13A is consider approval of the 2022-2023 Student Handbook for Faribault High School, Faribault Middle School, Faribault Area Learning Center, Faribault Online Academy, and Early Childhood Programs Handbook. We can approve all of those in one action. If there's something you want to really pull out and ask questions about, you certainly can with Mr. Benty. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve as they are in front of us.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Olson and a second by Ms. Steves. Any further discussion on this item?
Chad,
Yes, Mr. Olson.
any big changes?
So the memos of any changes have been documented on the first page of each one of the PDFs here. They just change with the time. So, a lot of them are updating names and phone numbers and positions and pieces like that. The only big change would be that this is our first year having a Falcons online handbook. So that handbook itself is entirely new.
Any other questions or comments, board members?
Mr. Chair, I just want to say thank you to the building leadership. I think in my preparation here and reading through all these, it looks well done, lays out the foundation for when students and parents can refer back to information within the handbooks. I think they're all very well done. So as was the elementary set we approved earlier in an earlier meeting.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. This brings us to 13B, consider approval of agreement between ISD 656 and IUOE local number 70 for nurses. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Ms. Steves and a second by Ms. Lechtenberg. Any further discussion?
Could Scott and Nicole go through it?
Wonderful. Scott and Nicole, will you please come up?
Good evening. So we met with our nurses union several times, and the summary on here goes over just the high-level pieces that we agreed with this group. The group consists of about 7 employees, just to give you a little background knowledge. So year one of the total package included a $37,103 increase overall between all of the costs of the contract. This included a 6% increase towards the cost of our single insurance plans, along with a wage increase of 4%. And then in addition to that, this group, we re-evaluated their positions and determined that they necessitated a comp worth increase of 5.2%. based on what the market and our neighbors are paying their nursing employees. Year two, we agreed on a total package increase of $20,193, and this also increased an estimated 6% of an increase towards single insurance premiums for next year. So we don't know exactly what those rates will be, but we assumed 6% to keep it consistent. And then we also increased their wage by 4% again in year two. So this gives us a total 2-year package of 12.32% or $57,297. There were a few different language items. The biggest one was we added a new category for a certified medical specialist. In the past, this position was within our paraprofessional union, and so we felt like it fit better to be within our nursing contract, so we moved it over to there and added a new category. We also added some new language so these employees could get their pay over 24 months rather than only over 9 months, and that works better for them for budgeting purposes and so forth, and we found that our neighbors are also doing that, so that was a huge benefit to them that they were excited about. We added some language for them to put in place a 403B plan so they could put some money away. It does not have a district contribution. That would be just their own money that they would be putting away. And then we just went through and cleaned it up and omitted all the language that pertained to the old paraprofessional contract that they broke away from. So that kind of summarizes it all up. Does anyone have any questions or anything you'd like to add? Yes.
What is a certified medical specialist?
So that's a good question, thank you. So we use somewhat of a general term because we thought in a lot of the positions that we use these individuals for, it's more to like fill in for our nursing staff. And so we determined that if they had some kind of a medical certification, like if they're an EMT or CNA, thank you. It's all sorts of different, if they have some sort of a medical certification, that they could fall within that category.
So a CNA would qualify for this?
No. CMA.
Oh,
Certified Medical Assistant.
Oh, certified, oh.
They were making up some acronyms.
Okay. How does this compare to a LPN?
The rate of pay?
Oh, right, just the position.
A licensed practicing nurse has a 2-year degree, associate's degree, in a specific licensed practicing nurse LPN program. A certified medical assistant can have a 2-year degree, but doesn't need a 2-year degree. They go into a certificate program that's not a degree program. So LPN has a 2-year associate's degree. A certified medical assistant has medical experience and certification, but no formal degree in that area.
Can they give out shots or prescription medicine?
You asked 2 questions. So,
Okay.
under the supervision of a licensed school nurse, they can pass medications. Under the supervision of a licensed school nurse, they cannot do injections. And the only injection we would have at a school is an EpiPen or diabetes insulin test. They cannot do diabetes insulin tests, and they cannot do EpiPen. Well, anybody can do EpiPens, I guess, but they can't do the diabetes test. So there are restrictions, and the nursing staff is aware of those restrictions when we place someone in the office.
And then with your 2-year package of over 12%, what do we have budgeted?
So we have everything budgeted at 4% salaries plus all the natural roll-ups that Nicole explained for both years. Obviously, the second year, we don't have a budget for yet, right? Because we haven't done that. But it's in line with what we did for a budget in fiscal year 23.
So we're over budget.
Yes. I got that number written here somewhere. $20,972 and change.
Mr. Gertis and Ms. Yocum, how much of that over budget can you align with that comparable worth increase? Do you have that broken out?
Yeah, it's 100%. So it's 100% of that.
100%. And that comparable worth increase, is that to everybody in these positions in the private sector? Is that only other school districts? How does that work? Who's that measured against? I'm not certain.
So both. We looked at our neighboring districts and also districts within our community, or not districts, schools within our community. And then in addition to that, we looked at local businesses like nursing homes, assisted living facilities, our hospitals and clinics, and even our prison neighbors to see what they were paying to try and be more in line with them along with other neighboring districts.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, board members? Okay, we do have a motion and we do have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Steves, will you please do a roll call?
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Leon Lechtenberg.
Aye.
Richard Olson.
No.
Cassie Steves. Aye. Chad Wolf.
Aye.
Passes 4. How do I count this?
4 to 1?
4 to 1.
Yep, thank you. Okay, thank you, we appreciate it. Brings us to item 13C. Consider approval of agreement between ISD 656 and IUOE Local Number 70 for operating engineers. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Lechtenberg and a second by Mr. Bellingham. Ms. Yocum and Mr. Gertis, would you walk us through this summary as well, please?
Yes, thank you. So this group of employees covers about just right around 30 staff. So the first item that we agreed upon had to do with language, and that was to increase their personal leave days from 1 per year to 2 days per year. We looked at this group and they really only ones that still only had 1 day. Most of them have 3 or 4, so we increased it by 1 day to give them 2 days each year. Then, looking into our economic items, in year one, the total package increase dollar amount was $88,954, which included all of the natural roll-ups, which would be 6% towards the insurance for a single plan. We also increased their dependent insurance or their family insurance contributions to match what our administrative assistants were currently at that point in time as well. We reclassified a position as a delivery driver into the same pay classification as their grounds wage, looking at those duties and determining that they were more in line with each other to increase that pay. Then we increased a stipend for anyone who had a specific license within this group by 15 cents an hour. Also increased their longevity amounts by 10 cents an hour for those that meet the criteria to receive longevity pay. We increased their training reimbursement amount from $600 per occurrence to $750 per occurrence. And then lastly, in year one, their wage increase was 3.5%. Then in year two, their total dollar amount was $55,288. This also included an assumed 6% increase towards their single insurance. We also increased their family coverage to match the administrative assistance, so that increase was factored in as well for family plans. And then we increased their wage by 3%. So their total 2-year package was $144,242, or 7.98%.
Wonderful. Thank you. Board members, questions, comments?
Again, what do we have budgeted?
So we, again, budgeted for first year only at about 4.5% total package. So the first year we're a little over budget, and the second year we're probably going to be a little under budget. Overall, we're less than the 4% per year for 2-year contract.
So if we take an average of 4%, this is almost that, right?
Yes, slightly below what. On
So
average,
really,
below
no,
budget.
we're not, in this case, we're not over budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Board members, any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, we do have a motion and we do have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Yocum, and thank you, Mr. Gertis. We appreciate the update and questions. This brings us to item 13D, back to school update. Ms. Tracy Corcoran.
Good evening. Back to school is here. Teachers came back today. We've had a great week already getting started. Last week we invited our new staff members to join us. So we spent 4 days together. Day one is really about building community, getting to know one another, understanding who's available as resources for them within the district. So that's everywhere from district office, all of the administrative team comes in and meets them, and then they also have time to get into their building, get into their classrooms, because we know as new teachers specifically, they just can't wait to get started and they want to know what's in their room. So then we also had opportunities for them to be able to dig into things that are specific to Faribault. So there was some professional learning already happening last week, getting into curriculum, resources they'll be using to teach, and then also, again, building relationships with their mentors as part of our new teacher program. So 4 great days with our new staff last week, and then today was first day with teachers back. So day one of workshop week is always a day for teachers to work. And so that's been a shift in our school calendar for the last few years, and that was on purpose, because a lot of times teachers come back from summer break and they can't wait to see everyone, and then that to-do list is forever long. And so just having a day to get organized, to be able to get a head start on things, and then tomorrow we kick it off with our district-wide celebration in the morning. And so we hope that we'll see many of you at the event at the PAC at the high school tomorrow morning. And that'll be an opportunity, again, to have our entire staff together for the first time in a year, because we only do that once a year. And then with that, we have time in our buildings this year. So we decided not to do district-wide professional learning because we knew the needs were so specific at each building, and with new leadership, we really wanted to give them an opportunity to build relationships with their new teachers, with their new administrators, as well as teachers returning to us. And so the afternoon will be all staff opportunities to get set up for the school year and be ready to welcome back our students next week. Wednesday, there's some differentiated professional learning happening at each of the sites as well. And then Thursdays, they collaborate with one another as colleagues. It's time for teachers to work together on what they need to accomplish before kids come back. Friday's another work day, and then next week, we will have kids in the building. So we invite you into the buildings next week when we have our kiddos back. I know we have our meet and greets at the elementary level, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, all of our students will be in those K-5 buildings. And then at the high school level and middle school level, we do kind of a scaffolded start. And so that's really to create a nice transition for our 6th graders and 9th graders. So the new building isn't as scary. They get to come in and get to know the building, get to know their teachers. So we've really made some intentional changes to make sure that our students feel safe, feel welcomed, and can open their lockers, because sometimes that's the one thing that sets your day off. And so we're really excited. Again, there's just an energy. It was fun being out in buildings today. People are smiling. There were staff breakfasts together. There were people exploring different classrooms, different spaces that have changed throughout the summer. And as you know, it's always nice to see faces that you haven't seen for 3 months. So lots of positive things happening this year. We're excited to get kids back because that's why we're here. It's the work that we do every day. And yeah, we hope that you'll be able to join us in the buildings. It's nice that we get to welcome families and community back into our schools this year.
Wonderful, thank you. Board members, questions, comments?
How many new teachers this year?
I'm saving that for Nicole. She's next.
Oh.
Because she'll have an updated number, as I know there were still a couple hires to make.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
Wonderful. Anything else, anyone? Thank you, we appreciate the update, and we hope this week goes wonderful. Okay, next item is 13E, Human Resources New School Year Update. Ms. Yocum.
Okay, hello again. Thank you. I don't get to give you guys updates on human resources stuff very often, so this is interesting for me. So we are, as you know, at our unemployment statewide at its all-time low, at 1.8%. So we're in some challenging times right now. It makes it really difficult to find some vacancies. When I first started in this position, when we would post an elementary ed position, we'd have 300 to 400 candidates. And now we get 8 or 10. And so it's way different times right now. Right now, we're planning to start our school year next week, short by about 11 staff, which is stressful. However, we're not Minneapolis, where they're short 280, so we can get through this. That 11 staff is made up of of 2 teachers that we have unfilled. We are piecemealing it together with our current teachers taking on overloads. We're so grateful of them stepping forward and teaching an additional class during their prep period. So we have 10 of them giving up their prep time to fill in these positions. We also have 6 paraprofessionals that are unfilled right now and 1 LPN. The high school had 1 academic specialist that was going to help focus on testing and attendance that is unfilled right now, but they're working on a plan to go without and make it work in a different way. And then we had 1 coordinator that resigned just today. So these numbers are changing every day. It's kind of been like a roller coaster the last couple of months. So when we have advertised for these vacancies, which we have for the most part them open right now, of the unfilled, we get anywhere from 5 candidates to 0 candidates. And once we do get a candidate for an opening, we're calling them right away and getting them in right away for an interview, because we want to really try and grab them before someone else gets them. It's kind of like fishing right now, and just taking everyone that we get for our positions. So, but it's also been an interesting year in terms of turnover. So we've had, as of today, 212 changes. So if we have 600 employees, that's a
Third.
a third, thank you. Math is Scott's thing. A third of our staff that's changed, 212. And that is made up of resignations, retirements, and then transfers, promotions, and so forth. So that's a lot of moving people around, a lot of new people in positions this year.
Ms. Yocum, that 212 isn't necessarily 212 leaving our district.
Correct.
That could be people bumping within the district to a different position, correct?
Exactly, yes. Yep, correct. A lot of new people in positions, which is also kind of cool because then you have new perspectives in different areas. So that's also kind of refreshing as well. So we've looked a lot at our exit interview data because we do send those out to all of our people that leave, and we get some good information from them. Whenever we find something that is something we can really easily address, we do that, absolutely. We look at what areas we need to improve on and work on those and come up with plans with that type of stuff as necessary. But we also celebrate because we get a lot of positives from our exit interviews, which is really encouraging. So another thing, the last thing just I want to bring up real quickly is we're exploring some different programs to try and help with recruiting and retention of staff. We have a few things that are kind of in the works. And so two of them that I'll just kind of give you an idea on real quickly is an attendance incentive program. And that's basically like, if you come to work and you show up and you don't call in sick, then we're going to try and figure out a way to reward you for that. There's a lot more to that, but that's the basis of that idea. That will also help with some sub issues because we are in a sub shortage as well. It will help alleviate staff because when we're short, then our staff are pulled very thin to help in different areas as they can. And then the other piece that we're working on is a referral incentive program, and that's basically like if you give us a name of someone that is willing to come in and work with us for a specific amount of time, we'll figure out a way to give them an incentive as well. And so there's a lot going into that still and a lot of like policy and procedures that need to be written up for it, but we are in the works of doing those kind of out of the box things along with several others that I'm negotiating with Scott. But that's it. Does anyone have any questions or anything else you'd like to add?
Mr. Bent, anything you'd like to add to this?
I would just say in 2001, I applied for a social studies teaching job at Richfield High School. I was one of 600 applicants. We are lucky. I think we had 5 or less for our middle school social studies opening this summer. So that is the difference in the last 20 years. It's just crazy. It's borderline impossible to find people. We're struggling to find Phi-Ed teachers, and we've never had an issue struggling to find Phi-Ed teachers. I talked to the Big 9 superintendents last week. 4 schools in the Big 9 are still looking for Phi-Ed teachers as of last week. So we are not alone in this, but obviously that doesn't help us. And I just saw an article Nicole was mentioning that came out from Minneapolis Public Schools that last week they were looking to fill 280 positions that were still open before school starts. So,
any other questions or comments? Ms. Yocum, I wish I could tell you it was going to get better in like a week or a month, and I have no idea, and I don't think anybody else does if they had the crystal ball. But it's not just schools, right? I was with at the local baseball tournament this weekend. Daikin was out there. They have over 100 unfilled positions. If anybody saw the article in the paper about TrueView expanding, they have 20 open positions every day. And so it's really, really competitive, and it's a really hard thing right now. So thank you for all that you and your teams do. And moving 212 people around is a very large task. So congratulations with what you've accomplished, and good luck with everything else. Mr. Olson.
Yeah. Maybe you can, a simple question. In 20 years, go from 600 to 5. The question is, why? How that? Why? That's a big drop. I mean, there could be 10 reasons, right?
Yeah, I don't have the answers. I'm sure there's a formula out there that talks about baby boomers retiring and everything, but yeah, it's been a drastic change. Especially, I would say, over the last 3 to 4 years, the numbers have really dropped dramatically.
Anybody else, any questions or comments? Wonderful. Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is 13F, Faribault Public Schools Playbook Presentation. Mr. Benty.
So we have been, for the past year, working with Lisa Salmon and Lighthouse for our Culture of Excellence training. The school board, along with the leadership team of about 35, 36 individuals, went through the Strength Finders, Clifton Strength Finders test last summer. Some of them did it this summer that are coming on new to us. The school board did it back in the spring and had a session with Lisa as well. And we worked on that all last school year and are continuing that work this school year as well. One of the pieces to come out of this is our playbook. And many times I'm asked, what makes Faribault Public Schools different than any other school district? And it's easy to look at schools and say that public schools are all the same, and talk about you can go to any public school and have the same experience. So one of the things that we have decided to do is put together our playbook and really put together who we are and how we do business and why we do things the way that we do it here. I presented this to the new teachers that were coming on board last Monday. I'm presenting it here this evening to the school board. And then tomorrow, the entire staff will get this same presentation. It's something that we're really pushing out. It's something that we believe in. And it's something that we feel that we can really grab hold of and run with. It's going to make us different and make us better than every other school district that's out there. So part of our playbook is a few questions, and I will also say that we are not done with this yet. All right, the part that you see here, we have solidified, but there are other parts that I'll talk about in my next presentation around goals that is kind of part 2 of this. So the question that we always start with is why. We always start with why. So the question is, why do we exist? And we spent considerable time on this question and went through probably, I'm going to say, a couple dozen rewrites of this. What seems like a very easy question to answer all of a sudden became a very complex piece. We started with a paragraph, and we were wordsmithing here and there. And what we finally got down to is this is a why statement. This is who we are, what we believe, and why we do what we do. So our why is, why do we exist? We elevate and empower each student, every family, and our entire community to achieve their full potential. So we have in there each student, every family, and our entire community. And those are the pieces that we felt tied in really well with our mission statement, but also really tied in with why do we show up to work every day? Why did we get involved in education? Why do we do what we do? So that was our why we do. The next one was how do we behave? And this is something that seemed so simple to explain pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and everyone seemed to kind of change a little bit. So we felt it was necessary to talk about how we behave as a district and as employees in our district. So we landed on that we are professional, we are compassionate, we act with integrity, and we are advocates for our students and families. And the bullets under each one of those, so we are professional, we have high expectations, and those are for everyone, for our students, for our staff, for our families, for our community. We are present and fully engaged. It's not just enough to show up. We have to actively engage in what we're doing and the mission that we have. Right? We are solutions oriented. It is so easy to focus on the problem. We need to focus on the solutions. And that really changes the dynamic of the meeting or the conversation where we say, okay, yep, we all agree we have a problem. Let's not talk about the problem. Let's talk about how we fix the problem. And we are motivated to learn and grow. We are always growing. We are always learning, all right? Lifelong learners. We are compassionate. We listen to understand. Nicole gets sick and tired of me telling daddy stories, but I've said this honestly at every interview that I've gotten the job, because I'm often asked, how do you deal with this situation or this parent or this employee? And I always tell my daddy story that my daddy said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You listen twice as much as you talk. All right? So we listen to understand. We are kind, we are honest, and we are respectful. We acknowledge and celebrate successes. I think this is something that Faribault Public Schools does not do enough of. Right? We don't celebrate our successes, and we have them. Right? We spend too much time looking at our problems and looking at what we need to fix. And yes, we need to focus on those pieces, but we also need to celebrate our successes and based on the individual students. We saw individual successes by students tonight. Students that got college credit for prior knowledge that they had coming to us. And we're setting them up for success with the college credit in our bilingual seals. Okay? We act with integrity. We follow through on our commitments. If we say we're going to do it, we do it. We assume positive intent. This is a difficult one. But we always assume that when we're dealing with personnel or students, that we assume positive intent of those individuals. And we have courageous conversations. And what I mean about that is that we have courageous conversations about everything. Right? This has been linked to equity, but it goes far, far beyond that. If I say, as the superintendent of Faribault Public Schools, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I fully expect a member of my cabinet or the teachers or someone to call me out on that and say, hey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. Right? That's what I mean when I say courageous conversations. So it's about keeping each other accountable. And then we are advocates for our students and families. We do what is best for kids. And many times when we get into the conversations and we start getting heated, someone will just stop and say, wait a second, we don't have the right focus here. What's best for our students? We remove barriers, and that goes for everyone, all right? Not only for our students, but we remove barriers for our families. We remove barriers for our staff as well. And then we take initiative. If we see a problem, we jump on it and we do what we can to fix it. So that is how we behave. And I'm challenging everyone tomorrow, when I meet with the entire staff, to live this as a Faribault Public School employee. And I will make the promise that I will do the best I can to live this as the superintendent of Faribault Public Schools. And if I don't, I fully want anyone to call me out on it. Because this piece of paper right here, which we've all agreed on, is our playbook. And this is what we need to live by. And we all need to model it. And I don't throw that out there lightly. If I'm not modeling this right here, then I need to be called out on it. And so does everyone else that works for Faribault Public Schools. The last part we have on here is what do we do? And we spent some time talking about this. And really what we landed on were the words right on the wall here behind us. That's our mission statement. That's what we do. So that's where we are in that process in the cultures of excellence training and work right now. And we're continuing that as well. So any questions around our playbook?
Board members, thoughts, questions, comments?
I think this is wonderful, and it doesn't just relate to Faribault Public Schools. I could take this back to my workplace or my marriage or anything. So thank you for this work.
Anybody else any questions or comments? Mr. Benty and your team, I wish you the absolute best luck. And if you can get a high percentage of people doing this, you'll move the needle in a big way. It won't be easy. It's not like flipping the light switch. But, to execute on the play, you got to have the playbook, right? So I I hope it works, and if anything, whatever the board can do to help provide support, I think it's wonderful, so good luck. All right, any other comments from you on that?
No, sir.
No, okay, thank you. And that is online for everybody, just so you know, that presentation is linked to the board book. It's out there in the public domain. Okay, this brings us to item 14, other items of information. 14A, school board members. Anything you would like to discuss or talk about or share information on? The floor is yours. Not everybody at once. Anybody? Okay, I've got a couple things, if nobody else does. Number one, I just want to thank the custodial team and that whole group that gets our buildings every single year looking as good as they can. Some are newer buildings, some aren't so new. And anyway, I know they really work really, really hard to make everything look really, really good this time of year. So just a huge thank you to all of them. One other thing I just want to call out is this past weekend, Ms. Lechtenberg and myself were lucky enough to participate, volunteer at the local baseball tournament, state amateur baseball tournament. It was weekend 1 of 3. There's 2 other weekends. It's relatively cheap entertainment. It's the first time it's been back here in 44 years. I'm super proud to say there's a ton of Faribault graduates that are involved in that. The 2 people co-chairing it is actually Miss Lechtenberg's son, Charlie Lechtenberg. He's our head baseball coach, somebody that I was lucky enough to coach in basketball for several years, and then a classmate of mine, Chris Reavers. And so the amount of time and energy and effort they've put into it over the last 2.5, 3 years is really pretty hard to calculate, to be brutally honest. And so they've got a good group of people helping out. But if anybody's interested, the next 2 weekends it's going on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week, and then also Friday through Labor Day through Monday that following week. And like I said, great entertainment and cheap. And I also want to thank the city. They've really, really done a bang-up job of helping get that ballpark, which Faribault Public Schools uses, in fabulous shape, and then also just our corporate community sponsors as well. It's just been fabulous. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that. So that's all I have. That concludes. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, that brings us to item 14B. Mr. Benty, the floor is yours, sir.
So just a couple updates before I get into the goals. I was lucky enough to be able to go to the bus blessing at Faribault Transportation last week. Just an incredibly devoted group of people that drive the buses for our students and our community. You couldn't ask for a nicer group. I got to sit down that evening and have dinner with them, and they were just super nice. And they even let me speak a little bit to them, and they didn't heckle me very much, so that was nice as well. So back to school, I echo what Chad said. Our buildings are ready for our students. It is no easy task, that's for sure. Getting our buildings turned over during the summer and cleaned and polished and ready for the school year to start, especially with all the changes that we make, is a monumental task. And our custodial team and staff really does a top-notch job pulling that off. So a shout out to them. I am going to do something a little bit different here. Is I'm going to call out some misinformation that is out there. And I know this is kind of new territory because it hasn't been done before, but I feel it's imperative that when something is said about our district that is not true, that we need to explain our own narrative and explain what we are doing. So some of the pieces out there had to do with Sodexo and our food service, that we were banning pork products. That is absolutely untrue, okay? There is no merit to that. That is not true. That was not part of the meeting that took place. Mr. Gertis, who oversees our food service, was part of the meeting. We are not banning pork, all right? We are looking at our recipes. We are looking at how we educate some of our students around what is in their food and also showing them what different options there are. What we have is we have a little bit, and I'm just going to say it, we have a little bit of a trust issue with some of our population about what is in the food, what does it look like, what is potentially in it. So that is something that Sodexo, Mr. Gertis, and the district is working on. But where we came with a ban on pork, I don't know, because that is not true. So If you have any questions, I am more than willing to answer, and Mr. Gertis, who was part of that meeting, is more than willing to answer any questions that you may have as well.
Mr. Benti, I appreciate you addressing it. I know I've gotten a couple calls over the last few days, and I'm guessing maybe other board members have as well. I don't know, but I appreciate you addressing it, and Mr. Gertis as well, so thank you. Okay.
Okay, so I gave the board a 2-page document here, which is just an update on the goals from me. So 7 weeks ago, I started as a superintendent here, and the board and I worked together on 3 goals. The first goal is develop and implement a plan to continue to support, mentor, evaluate, and encourage professional growth and efficacy of district leadership. And some of the evidences of performance was to create an action plan for the 22-23 school year to build on the 21-22 culture of excellence work completed. Part of that was, so what we've done so far was came up with the playbook. We did that in July, and then it was given to the leadership team at the beginning of August. New teachers got it last week, you got it this evening, and all staff will get it tomorrow. The next steps in that playbook is we will focus on how will we succeed. So what comes after what do we do will be how will we succeed. And we've got some bullets listed there of items that we are considering. What is most important right now is the next question, and we've got some bullets there that we are thinking about. This work will take place. We will meet with Lisa and the Culture of Excellence Training as a leadership team in 4 more times this school year: October, December, February, and April. All right, so we're spacing it out every other month, and how will we succeed and what is most important right now will be the October meeting and the December meeting. All right, and then we will move into other pieces for February and April. Another bullet of that is to articulate and follow through on a clear vision and plan for support, mentorship, and evaluation of principals and assistant principals. So one of the things that I am setting up is that I will meet with cabinet members, will meet with principals every other week, and I will meet with principals every other week. So to give you an example, like this coming week, I will meet with elementary principals, and cabinet will be meeting with secondary principals. The following week, we will flip-flop that. So every week, I will be meeting with principals, and cabinet will be meeting with principals. So that way they get time just with me alone to talk about mentoring, talk about other pieces that are on here goal-wise as well. And then on the off weeks, they get to work with cabinet members to be able to focus in really specifically on what it is they need from those individual cabinet members and their expertise. Another bullet member was the evaluation of cabinet, or was the clear vision and plan to support mentorship and evaluation of cabinet leadership. So the evaluation part for me has started with the cabinet. We have set up dates to meet. We have talked about the outline. Some templates have been sent back and forth, so we are working on that. We should have all of that wrapped up by the end of September, which is perfect because then that is when I will start working with the principals on their evaluation pieces. I don't feel it's very fair to ask a principal on what their goals are before the students have even stepped foot into the building. So I like to give them 3 to 4 solid weeks of students in the building before we start talking about goals and what they want to achieve for that school year. So I'll be starting with them towards the end of September, third week of September, right around there. Articulate a plan for mentorship and support for myself in my first year of my superintendency, including self-reflection, self-evaluation, and sources of support and professional development. I'm happy to say that I've been accepted into the AASA, the American Association of School Administrators, for a national superintendent certification program that will take place over the next 2 years. So it's a 2-year commitment. Our first meeting is October 27th and 28th. And we meet about once a quarter for the next 2 years. And we meet all different places throughout the state. Any questions on goal 1? Goal 2 was develop and articulate a clear vision and action steps for continuous improvement in all schools regarding school climate and student behavior. And then evidence of performance was to identify areas of growth in each school and document both district-wide approaches and building-specific approaches for improvement. So our leadership team has taken on looking at policy 537, which is our positive student expectations policy. You see some of that work embedded in the handbooks that were approved this evening, where they talk about restorative practices. So we are re-looking at that. That was about, I think, 4 years ago when the leadership team put that policy together, and it was brought before the school board and was passed. And now that we've gone through the last 4 years, we feel it's time to revisit that. So we're going to be spending time as building leaders over the next, at least through the end of this year, through the end of December, revisiting that and seeing, are we doing what we said we were going to do? And what resources do we need to continue to work on that? So that is something that I will be leading with building leaders. Align vision and action steps to the core values of Faribault Public Schools. Develop a plan for determining the efficacy of action steps taken in support of this goal. Once again, that's the playbook that I spoke of this evening and the next steps that will happen over the course of this school year. And then the work with our leadership advisory team that meets monthly. The agendas are already out there for them, and there will be a piece of, we're changing it up a little bit, so there will be a piece of, here is some meeting time, here is some professional development time, and then here is some time just for building leaders to work together with me across all buildings. That way, elementary, primary principals, as well as secondary principals get to discuss issues that pertain to the entire district. Any questions for goal number 2? All right. Goal number 3 is develop and articulate an updated vision and current action steps for continuous improvement in all schools regarding excellence in education. Right? Identify areas of improvement in each school and at each level, and then consider and propose additional actions if appropriate. These will come out of my meetings that are every other week with the building principals. It'll be a time for them to talk about what's going on in their buildings, where they need specific help, what they need, whether it be from me, whether it be from a cabinet member, whether it be training outside of the district. So that'll allow us to much more quickly get involved in a building that is maybe having some hiccups here and there. We'll be able to step in much quicker, figure out what is going on, pull some data, look at it, and then start working in some of our cycles. The other piece that goes along with this is develop a plan for determining the efficacy of action steps taken in support of this goal. If you look at the document that is attached to this, I drew this out on a piece of paper. I have to be honest here. I drew this out on a piece of paper with a pencil, and Tracy was nice enough to make it look all nice and pretty, because my computer graphic skills are nowhere near this level, okay? So she took my pencil drawing and turned it into something that I think we should trademark this. I do. So one of the pieces that I looked at is why, and I started looking at this when I was at the high school, why don't some programs succeed? And what I came to figure out was it had to do with follow through, and it had to do with basically staying true to what is the program. We're constantly, in education, we sometimes have this tendency to constantly shoot at a moving target, but then I like to change it to say we're constantly shooting at multiple moving targets, and we lose focus on which one that we're really supposed to be shooting at. So this is something I came up with was looking at what our mission is. It's right there for everyone to see, and what our vision is. We're good at that. We're really good at saying this is what we want to do. Right? We're also really good at saying this is where we are now. We know where we are. We're also really good at saying, and this is where we want to be. Where we get lost is the how part. How do we get there? So one of the pieces that we're going to be looking at, and this works for evaluations of either individuals or evaluations of programs, is where we are, how we're going to get there, and then plan, do, study, act cycles that are embedded within the school year. So if you look there, you can get about 2 plan, do, study, act cycles in each semester. So you can do 2 plan, do, study, act cycles where you work with somebody, and then come January, you evaluate again. And maybe you have to tweak the goal, maybe you have to tweak the program, maybe you have to make some changes here or there. And then you have 2 more cycles, and then comes the evaluation at the end of the school year. And that gives you multiple data points that you can pull information from so that you can really look and see, is what we're doing working? And at the end of the year, you make the decision, do we continue with this? Does it need a total overhaul? Or do we just continue to need to make minor adjustments to it? But it allows us to stay focused on what our goal is and how we're going to get there. So this document here is something that I'm going to be working not only with individuals on, but I'm also going to be passing this on to building leadership as well to say, consider this to evaluate programs as well. That is my report on my goals for this school year. Any questions that you have?
Board members, any questions or comments?
Pretty comprehensive.
Thank you. I think it looks great. I'm excited to hear and see how things go. I will just make a comment that we give you your goals. This year we gave them to you in late July, early August, so that you could prepare with so many of these new hires and people moving around and whatnot. As we all know, there's an election coming up, 4 open seats. There's several people that are running from outside that would be new people. I would encourage all of you, I have no idea if I'll be on this board or not, I would encourage the board to make sure that you stick to a mid-year review cycle. So that would be in that January timeframe, because that gives you a really good kind of pulse on how things are going. If things are going off the rails, you're going to know that. If things are humming along, you're going to know that. And if things are going really, really great, you're going to double down and celebrate, right? So the other thing is, I would strongly encourage the boards going forward, whoever that looks like, to continue with the culture of excellence. This school board did it earlier. Today's August. We did it early this year, early 2022, I think is what I'm trying to get at, I think. April? Thank you. Really good stuff. You're able to find out a lot of things that you probably wouldn't find out about your peers, your other board members, how they think, what makes them tick, why they think that way. And so I would strongly, strongly encourage that of all boards going forward. I think that was a great thing we did. I think it helps get us in alignment as a board with leadership and what they're working on. So I would encourage that. Mr. Benty, anything else, any other remarks you'd like to share?
No, I would just agree with what you said there. I've been through many different strength finders, personality tests, all that stuff over the years. I was hesitant to do the strength finders piece last summer, but I decided, yep, I'll do it. And it really transformed how I saw my strengths. It showed me not only what my strengths were, but the most important part, it showed me how my strengths can be perceived as weaknesses by other people. And that really opened up my eyes to how others view the work that I do and how I need to adjust my communication style with people based on what their strengths are. So it's really been transforming in how I do my daily work.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the work you put in and the communication here tonight. Next thing on here is item 15, dates to remember. September 6, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. is the policy meeting. September 12th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. is the work session. September 19th, 2022 at 7:30 in the morning is the finance meeting. September 26th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. is our next regular board meeting. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
I was wondering if anybody else wanted to go home tonight. So we have a motion by Ms. Steves, a second by Ms. Lechtenberg. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We're adjourned. Thank you.